Hello all and welcome back to my top 10 favorite Godzilla films. Now this film stirred up a lot of emotions in me when I saw it as a kid. It actually took me several years to watch it all the way through because it was such an emotional movie for Godzilla, and I wasn't ready for the film's conclusion. Of course I'm talking about Godzilla Vs Destroyer. This was the 22nd Godzilla movie and the final film in the Heisei series, as well as being one of the most important. It was a celebration of the monster and his legacy, which was about to take a 10-year break, but it actually only lasted 4 years. This movie has no problem at the beginning telling the viewer, Godzilla's going to die. You see Birth Island, which is the island that Godzilla and Jr. were living on during the film Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. The island was completely destroyed in some sort of nuclear accident. The island has vanished and Godzilla is huge and covered in a glowing red rash. Jr. is presumed to be dead since he is nowhere to be seen. It is later revealed that Godzilla's heart works like a nuclear reactor. His temperature is rising, and if it gets too hot, his nuclear fusion will get out of control and he will blow up, which will cause the destruction of Earth. Meanwhile, a scientist has discovered the use of micro-oxygen, which can be used to create larger foods and help end world hunger. The way he did this was by studying the sediment where the original Godzilla from 1954 was killed with the oxygen destroyer. They discovered that one sample had a living microscopic organism in it, but it eventually escapes into the Japanese sewer systems and multiplies in numbers and strength. These creatures evolve into 9-foot-tall crab-like monsters and eventually are able to combine into a huge kaiju. While this is going on, the military is also fighting Godzilla, but they come to the conclusion that normal weapons will only speed up the process of Godzilla destroying the world. So instead, they send out the Super X-3, which is armed with freezer weapons and cadmium missiles. The Super X-3 is able to freeze Godzilla, and his temperature comes down and his nuclear fusion is stable. Once unfrozen, Godzilla changes his course and seems to be tracking something. It's none other than Godzilla Jr. That's right, Jr. survived the destruction of Birth Island and is now a young adult Godzilla. The military looks at where Godzilla has been traveling for the last few days, and it seems that he is tracking Godzilla Jr. But Jr. is heading north, and by the time that the two Godzillas would meet, the adult Godzilla will have already died from his infection, which could now be a meltdown rather than an explosion. The military forces Miki Sagusa to use her telekinetic powers to force Jr. to fight Destroyer, so that the adult Godzilla will follow. The plan is that Jr. will be killed and Godzilla and Destroyer will kill each other, preventing a meltdown. Jr. arrives and has a difficult time fighting Destroyer. Jr. is badly wounded, but eventually gains the upper hand by using his atomic breath a lot. Destroyer appears to be defeated, but he is just really gathering more energy to evolve once again. Godzilla and Jr. finally meet and it is a touching moment. Never before have we seen two adult Godzillas on screen at the same time. But of course this is short-lived as Destroyer has to ruin the moment as he transforms into the devil himself. Destroyer is able to get a hold of Jr. and flies high into the air and drops him like a rock. Jr. lies on the ground breathing his final breaths. Godzilla is furious and begins his final fight. Godzilla and Destroyer are about evenly matched. Godzilla only gets a huge upper hand when he is getting close to melting down. This gives him huge boosts in power, and Destroyer is eventually no match for the raw power of Godzilla. The military arrives armed with freezer weapons to try to minimize Godzilla's damage during his meltdown. Destroyer tries to flee but is killed by the military. Did you hear what I said there? The military finally killed a monster. Godzilla begins to melt down, and it is a sad sight to see. His arm falls off, his heart explodes, and he lets out one final roar of pain and agony. Godzilla is dead, and now Tokyo is uninhabitable due to the intense radiation left in the air that was released from Godzilla's body. But suddenly, the radiation levels disappear, just in time for the humans to realize that Junior was resurrected and is now a fully grown adult Godzilla, ready to continue his father's legacy. As I said before, this was a huge moment for the Godzilla series. I remember seeing news reports about this movie in the United States, and we weren't even getting it that year.
But in his 22nd film, Godzilla Vs the Destroyer, to be released December 9th in Japan, the 42-year-old monster will finally meet his end. Godzilla will die. The film's directors promise the final scene will be unforgettable.
I was really hyped for this movie, but it was so dark and violent that it was difficult for me to watch. If I remember correctly, I kept watching up until the fight between Destroyer and Junior. Once Junior's chest gets impaled is when I would turn off the movie. I was so terrified that Junior would die that I couldn't keep watching. And I already knew Godzilla was going to die, so I was going to be super sad. Once I finally saw it all the way through, I was sad and slightly traumatized. In all honesty, it's the reason I didn't go see Godzilla 2000 in theaters, which I really regret. I was afraid that Godzilla would die in Godzilla 2000, and I couldn't go through that again. It is funny, though, that I did see the American Godzilla in theaters, and his death didn't bother me at all. I guess even at the age of 7, I knew that that wasn't Godzilla. Anyways, the sound and special effects of this film are incredible. I love the way that it is shown how powerful Godzilla is getting during the final battle. His meltdown, while sad, is also incredible looking, and it still looks great today. The music is really atmospheric and complements what is happening, although I'm still not a huge fan of the Super X3 theme. The monsters look great. I really like how Junior looks in the film. It is similar to the Godzilla Saurus from Godzilla vs King Ghidorah. It is also interesting that he was actually the first time any Godzilla had been green, which was a very common misconception that Godzilla was green and not charcoal black. The only thing I'd want to be changed about Junior is I wish his spines were a little bit bigger. They look kind of weird being that small with the size that he is. Destroyer looks awesome. His crab form seems odd at first with how they were moving them, but during the scene where he is chasing a news reporter makes it awesome. The scene is so well filmed that it's almost like something out of the Alien franchise. I never liked this flying form of Destroyer though. It just sort of comes out of nowhere, and I don't really understand how he can just willingly change from that crab form to a flying form and back again. But whatever. But the final form is the coolest. I mean, he really does look like the devil and is Godzilla's meanest looking foe. The only thing I don't like about him is his belly weak spot. It doesn't seem to serve any purpose except for Godzilla to get a couple of attacks in, and that's it. Godzilla looks awesome, but also very chunky with those thunder thighs, man. I mean, it's not a complaint, it's just a very obvious observation. The rash looks really cool on Godzilla and makes him look even more evil, especially with those red eyes. I also love that Godzilla has his red spiral atomic breath throughout the entire movie. That is how powerful he really is. It is also interesting to see Godzilla cry for the first time and caring for his son. It's a very sad moment when he tries to resurrect Junior and fails, and then immediately gets hurt by his damaged heart and Destroyer. This is an incredible movie without a doubt. It really tugs on the heartstrings of Godzilla fans and even has a lot to offer for non-Godzilla fans. It took me a while to watch this movie all the way through, but it was well worth it and an experience I will never forget. Even after Toho finished filming the movie, they had a funeral for the King of the Monsters. Well, I think I've talked about this movie long enough. Our next movie changes things up a bit from the regular storyline of Godzilla and gets more spiritual.